Hello students, I'm Imkong Tenlapungan from Department of Anthropology, University of Delhi. Today we will be discussing on the module Description and Identification of the Disarticulated Skeleton of Primates from the paper Human Origin and Evolution. Well, the learning objectives of the module are: number 1, to describe the physical characteristics of the primates. Number 2, to understand the non-human primates and their skeletal features. Number 3, to describe and identify and distinguish between prosimians and anthropoids. Number 4, to know about gibbons, orang-utans, chimpanzees, and gorillas. Now, firstly, let us discuss briefly about primate radiation. The first radiation of primate order has its roots in the beginning of the explosive adaptive radiation of placental mammals. The earliest discovered traces suggesting the beginnings of our order came from late Cretaceous period, about 70 million years ago, probably early Paleocene. The fossil form, that is Percatorius, recovered and exhibit the primate tendency towards a bulbous cups pattern in the molar teeth compared to the sharper cups seen in the insectivores. Such a dental pattern apparently indicates that early primates were adapting to fruit and leaf-eating diets, or perhaps a diet also including insects exploited in an arboreal niche. Paleocene and early Eocene archaic primates have been found in both Europe and North America. However, very limited numbers of skeletal fossil remains have been discovered from Oligocene epoch. Now, most of the remains are from Africa. The Egyptian varieties include Parapithecus, Propleopithecus, Egyptopithecus. Now let's go to the characteristics of the primates. The primates bear flat nails upon their digits. This makes the grasping function of the hands and feet easier. The presence of well-developed clavicle is a characteristic feature of the primates. The orbits are completely surrounded by bony rims. The limbs are prehensile and adapted for arboreal life. This was probably an earliest mammalian characteristic. Either the thumb or the great toe or both are opposable. This possibility, which is an ancient mammalian feature, has been retained by the primates during their long arboreal life. The teeth are adapted for mixed food, vegetation, and animal. 3 kinds of teeth are present in the primate, at least at one time of its life. The teeth are differentiated into incisors, canines, and molars to serve different functions of cutting, halting, and grinding, etc. In the primates, the mammae are 2 in number and they are pictorial in position. The nursing habits of the mother determine the position of the mammary glands. The development of the brains of the primates shows wide variation, but a calcarine fissure and a posterior lobe is always present in the primate brain. The primate possesses pentulous penis. The character is shown by some other mammals also. They have a well-developed cecum, that is, a sac connected with the intestine of an animal. The stomach is simple. The femur has never third trochanter. The testes are descended into the scrotum. Of course, it is present in many other agile and active mammals also. Now, let's see about non-human primates. Now, when Linnaeus set up a group including lemurs, monkeys, apes, and human in his 1758 classification of the mammals, he chose to name it the primates, a medieval Latin word meaning chieftains. He had human beings clearly in his mind when he gave this name. The primates derived not only the name but also most of the scientific interest from the fact that human beings are primates. Thus, apart from the humans, all the species in the order primate are considered as non-human primates, whether it is apes or monkeys. Biologists since Darwin have studied primates or non-human primates with an eye to their relationship to human beings. Non-human primates provide insights in evolutionary trend through comparison of the approved tendencies towards big brains, reduced ability to smell or olfaction, increased manual dexterity, upright posture, and other comparable human characteristics. Now, this figure illustrates the classification of the order primates. Now, let us go to the prosimians. There are three major infraorders in the prosimian suborder. These are, we have Darciformes, Loriciformes, and Lemuriformes. Now, Darciformes. The tarsier is the only remaining member of the once large Darciformes infraorder. These tiny creatures, which live in Borneo and the Philippines, are equipped with a very long tail and hind limbs for hopping from branch to branch. Their huge eyes and the beds at the ends of their fingers aid to their strange frog-like appearance. The special beds help them cling to smooth vertical surfaces. During the day, they sleep clinging to a vertical branch. They wake at dusk and spend the evening hopping from tree to tree, looking for insects and lizards to eat. Now, Loriciformes. Nocturnal primates, Loriciformes are divided into two distinct types, Loris and Calicos, according to their locomotor patterns. Lorises are found in sub-Saharan Africa and in Asia. They are adapted to slow climbing and creeping. This movement is made possible by a very powerful grasp and strong muscles. Lorises can hang by one hind limb while reaching for food. Insects seem to form the bulk of their diet, but they will eat almost anything from flowers to young birds. Calicos, by contrast, leap gracefully through the trees, taking long kangaroo-like hops with their strong hind limbs. Their shorter forelimbs are used to grab hold of branches when they land. They can easily leap from one vertical support to another. Calicos range from the size of large mice to the size of large rabbits. Like the lorises, they are omnivorous and thus eat both plants and animals. Now, the Lemuriformes. The Lemuriformes, which include lemurs, are found primarily on the island of Madagascar off the southeast coast of Africa. They have developed very many variations because of the lack of competition and predators. The member of one genus, the mouse lemurs, are smaller than a mouse, and they are the tiniest living primates. Most Lemuriformes are active during the day and at dusk, but some are nocturnal. Most are completely arboreal and are wonderful acrobats. They can leap greater distances, and this is due not only to their musculature but also to unusually well-developed binocular vision. Unlike other prosimians, the lemurs avoid animal foods and seem to be highly social. Lemurs live in troops of up to 60 members and sleep cuddled in small groups with their tails wrapped around one another. Now let us see the anthropoids. The anthropoids are also a diverse suborder, but they are characterized by their own shared set of specialized adaptations. These adaptations mainly allow a more effective use of arboreal environments. Forward-facing eyes permit stereoscopic vision among the anthropoids, and the visual centers of the brain are complex, allowing integration of large amounts of visual data. Depth perception and quick reaction to visual cues are essential to tree living. Anthropoids also possess color vision, which aids in depth perception and the sighting of brightly colored fruit in trees. Now, adaptations for grasping and handling objects are crucial to life in trees as well. Finally, the characteristically high brain-to-body ratio of anthropoids increases their ability to survive by agility and learning. Now, these qualities are more appropriate in the trees than are the specializations of terrestrial animals for attack and defense, such as large horns, tusks, and claws. Now, Blatterine, the New World monkey. The New World monkeys live throughout the hilly forested regions of Central and South America. They are divided into families, that is, Callitrichae, which include the marmosets and damarins, and the Scipidae, which contains 6 subfamilies. Most New World monkeys belong to Scipidae. Now, most New World monkeys seem to spend their lives in the trees. They do not come down even for water. Apparently, they get enough moisture from the flowers, fruits, and nuts they eat. Locomotion patterns vary among the New World monkeys. Some walk on all 4 spots on the ground and on tree branches. Others can also move in an upright position. They do so by swinging from their arms, which are longer than their legs. Some use their strong prehensile tails to swing and to grab limbs as they pick fruits. They can jump as far as 30 feet. They have been seen in groups of up to 30 and in family bands. And now let us see the Old World monkeys, that is, Catarrhine. Within the Catarrhine line, there are 2 superfamilies, Cercopithecodidae, or the Old World monkeys, and Hominoidae, that is, humans, apes, chimpanzees, orangutans, chimpanzees, and gorillas. The major differences that have evolved between these 2 groups are: most species of Old World monkeys have tails. Hominoids have no tails. Old World monkeys have prenatal development of ischal callosities. Most hominoids are not born with these rump beds, although they may grow after birth. Now, Old World monkeys have a shorter lifespan than the hominoids. Old World monkeys have smaller brain size to body weight ratios, as well as less complex brains than the hominoids. The cerebral cortex is easily well developed in hominoids. Now, the superfamily Cercopithecodidae. The superfamily Cercopithecodidae contains a single family which can be divided into 2 subfamilies, the Cercopithecinae and the Colopinae. The most common genera in the Cercopithecinae are Koinons, mangabes, baboons, and macaques. Langurs are the most common genus in the Colopinae subfamily. The skeletal features. All species possess ischal callosities. All digits with more perfectly flattened nails. The tail is not prehensile. The nostrils are situated close to each other. The brygma is placed relatively far forwards. The premaxilla is extended up to the nasal opening. Sometimes it touches the frontal bone. The jugal never articulates with the parietal bone. The palate is relatively long. The basicranial axis is comparatively short. The auditory bulla is absent. The tympanic annulus is elongated and it forms external auditory meatus. The typical dental formula is incisors 2 by 2, canines 1 by 1, premolars 2 by 2, and molars 3 by 3. The upper premolars are 3-rooted and the lower are 2-rooted. Let's go to canines. The Cercopithecine monkeys or canines are widely distributed in Africa. Although they live mostly in trees, some species come down to feed on the forest floor in plantations, in open bush, and in savanna country. They live largely on insects, fruits, and vegetation, but will sometimes eat birds, bird eggs, and even small mammals. They seem to live in small groups made up of a dominant male and small harem of females and their children. Now the mangabes. The long-tailed mangabes that are sometimes seen with cercopithecines spend much of their day on the ground. Though they possess some adaptations to life on the trees, they also have some of the traits of terrestrial primates. Their hands, for instance, are more like those of the terrestrial baboons than those of totally arboreal primates. They live mostly in the swampy forest of Africa. Now, baboons and macaques. These baboons and macaques are closely related, though classified as separate genera. If they mate, they can sometimes produce fertile offspring. But they inhabit different ranges. The baboons live in Africa and the Arabian Peninsula. The macaques range from India east to Japan. They both live mainly on the ground, though they sleep in trees. Both have developed finely controlled hands with precision grips that function like ours. Now, the baboons live in highly structured troops of 10 to 100 members. Within the troop, a clear dominance hierarchy reduces tensions and provides protection from predators. The trait of predators may be the reason for the extreme sexual dimorphism. Now let us go to langurs. Langurs are slender, long-tailed Asiatic monkeys. They often feed on the ground but prefer graceful flight into the trees rather than an organized show of force. Group organization is not as important for defense. Langurs sometimes live alone and sometimes in troops. The relationship between males and females are not well defined. The status of females is high when they are paired with a male, but when their infants are born, the mothers seem to drop out of the status system altogether. When dominant males are found near temples, they form harems, that is like group of females, and actually chase away other males. Now let us see the superfamily Hominoidae. The superfamily Hominoidae, it includes three families: Hylopetidae, which represent gibbons; Bongaidae, which includes orangutan, chimpanzee, and gorilla; and Hominidae, that is human beings. Hylopetidae, gibbons. Now, gibbon is one of the smallest apes inhabiting Southeast Asiatic islands, namely Java, Sumatra, Borneo, and Philippines. They are also seen in southern China. There are about 12 varieties of gibbon. Now, the height of the gibbon does not exceed 3 feet, and the weight of the adult gibbon ranges from 11 to 15 pounds. There is no sexual dimorphism with regards to the size. The body of these animals is covered with fine woolly hairs, whereas the hairs of gorilla, chimpanzee, and orangutan are coarse. The color of the hair is white, gray, and sometimes black, or a combination of these three colors. Now let us see Bongaidae, that is orangutan, chimpanzee, and gorilla. Orangutan differ very much from the gibbons in their bulky and heavy bodies. They are found mostly in the islands of Borneo and Sumatra. In erect position, the animal is nearly 5 feet high. The weight of the adult males varies from 165 to 200 pounds. The females are somewhat higher. The body of orangutan is covered with long, coarse hairs of reddish-brown color. No hair is found on the face, ears, palm, and soles. The chest is barrel-like. The breasts are laterally situated near the armpits. In profile, the nose gives a flat concave appearance as the root is narrow and the bridge is not elevated. The face is concave in profile. Such a condition of face is described as cynognathism. The arms are long and narrow with elongated fingers. The thumb is small and all the digits have flat nails. The forearm is much longer than the upper arms. The legs are short and the foot is long and narrow. When the orangutan is kept in erect posture, the fingertips reach the ankles. The great toe is opposable and very small. Let us see chimpanzee. The body of the chimpanzee is not so well built as in the case of the orangutan and the gorilla. The chimps are found in large numbers in the tropical forest of Africa. There are 3 species of chimpanzees: the common chimpanzee, the black-faced, bald-headed chimpanzee, and the pygmy chimpanzee. The body proportion of chimpanzee shows some tendency towards that of man. The average height of the full-grown common chimpanzee is 5 feet. The weight of the adult male and female are 110 and 88 pounds respectively. The body is covered with loose and coarse hairs of various colors. There are no hairs on the face, hands, and feet. The head of the bald-headed chimpanzees are devoid of hairs. Most species of the chimpanzees have round, low-vaulted heads. The average cranial capacity is 400 cc. There is a poor development of the supraorbital ridges and it is continuous and prominent but not so massive as in the gorilla. Now let us have a look at the gorilla. Among all the non-human primates, the gorilla is the largest and the stoutest. They are found in equatorial regions of Africa. The gorillas are represented by 2 species, the western coastal or the lowland gorilla and the eastern or the mountain gorilla. The former inhabit mainly in the regions of Cameroon, while the latter is found in the region of the eastern Congo, west of Lake Edward and Lake Kivu. When the gorilla stands erect, the hands go below the knee joint. The height ranges from 5 feet to 6 feet in the lowland gorillas and 5 feet 3.5 inches to 5 feet 11 inches in the mountain gorillas. The weight of the body of adult males ranges from 350 to 600 pounds. Now the body is covered with long and black colored hairs. The face, palms, and soles are completely devoid of hairs. The massive skull of the gorilla is a noteworthy feature. The head is very large but consists of smaller cranium with enormous and projecting face and jaw. The supraorbital ridges above the eye openings are of enormous size and it goes from left to right of the skull. It is continuous to form a torus. Now the anatomical similarities and dissimilarities between humans and non-human primates. Gorilla and man. In hands, feet, and pelvis, and in the size of the brain, the gorilla shows close relationship with man. But the massive jaws of the gorillas have no resemblances with those of man. Chimpanzee and man. Now the chimpanzee and man relate to each other to a greater extent by means of the likeness of the skull and the pigmentation of the body. The chest proportion of chimpanzee is mostly human. Now, orangutan and man. With respect to high forehead and the same number of pairs of ribs, the orangutan demands a closer relationship with man than all other apes. On the other hand, the 2 factors like the shortness and degenerate characters of the legs and the adoption of the feet for suspension separate these 2 individuals from each other. Now, Chipon and man. The length of legs and the erect gait of the Chipon indicate its closer relationship with man anatomically, but in characters like excessive arm length, general size, pelvis, hands and feet, length of genitis, and the size of the brain, the Chipon goes farthest from the man. Now let's summarize the module. This module has provided a comprehensive background on the characteristics of primates, skeletal features of non-human primates, differences between prosimians and anthropoids, and a comparative anatomy of man and large apes. It is very difficult to identify the man's closest relative among the 4 non-human primates or apes. This is especially true when all the physiological, anatomical, morphological, anthropological, and genetic characters are considered. However, the chimpanzees are closer to man than the gorilla. That's the end of the module. Thank you.